So basically, everything, as I told you, is ruled by the platform, the computers, the software you're running your art on. Okay, so you need to, every time you do a job for a video game company, you guys, for anything, for any project in video game, you need to scout basically the hardware. You need to know the possibilities of the hardware you're doing it on. Okay, on a console, it's very easy because hey, you buy the console from Fry's Electronic and that's it. If it runs on your console right there, it will run on everybody's console. They're all the same. Okay, so that's a piece of cake. But on a computer, if it's a PC game, you don't really know what the hardware is gonna be playing on. So you gotta create a ballpark of what's going on, and then you have to test your game with the weakest link, which is the lowest hardware, and the strongest link, which is basically the hardest, the best hardware. All right. So you try to figure out who is gonna play your game, and say, okay, if they're that edge, what type of money do they have? What type of structure do they have? What type of computer? And try to figure it out and get a ballpark of that. So that does a lot of difference of changes for that. It's easier to make a game on console, all right, you guys, but it's a lot more expensive most of the time, all right, than PCs. PCs are maybe easier to make. I mean, harder to make sometimes, but some of the stuff are cheap to make. Okay, there's not need for any real big money. Though now Microsoft has really broken the rules with XNA, and XNA is a very raw material engine, game engine that actually lets you do with a little of coding, only let you do some very strong video games, basically 2D and 3D for the Xbox 360 console. Okay. So that's how it starts basically. Your stuff is all ruled by that, so you need to read the specification. And we're going to go through the main specification for artists in 3D. Okay? What is the most important in 3D for game artists? First of all, the pipeline goes this way. Okay? You take the specification of what you're doing. Okay? You get the spec of what you're doing. After that, you actually, go into creating your game rules and the game document, obviously, which we're not going to do. We're not the game maker people, okay? And then after that, the game art team actually look at the game doc and say, okay, what do we need in the art assets? Okay, what's on the screen? We need it. So what are we going to need, basically? Okay, how many characters do we have? Who is the main character? Okay, how many levels do we have? How big is the level? What type of environment the level is? Okay, you guys, that's all that they need to decide about, all the pieces. So it's a project management. It's fairly boring. Trust me, I do it. And it's fairly boring. It's MBA type of things in reality, business. All right, you guys, project management for business people, basically. But just a focus on video game. So you get a list of all those assets. And as soon as you get all those assets, then you get to start doing it. The thing is, in video game, it needs to be done parallelly in the same time. It's basically that people do coding. All right, it works this way. You have the game maker right here, so the rules, okay, and then you have game coder right here and game art right there. Okay, that's how it works basically. So those two right here, they run at the same time. Game art and game coding needs to run at the same time, or it's too long of a process. It takes much too long if it's not running at the same time. All right. So you gotta get, what does it mean for us as artists? It means that you gotta get stuff really quickly to them. Okay. That needs to be so. That means you don't give them stuff when it's done already. You give it to them as fast as you can, rough. Okay. So they have a mock-up of what's going on, and they can start coding the game. All right. If the game is fun with little square, let's say instead of characters, we have squares, rectangles like that. An old game is made of rectangles and squares and stuff like that. Do you think it's going to be fun when the art is on after that? Yeah, it'll be very fun, you guys, when you're done with it. Okay. So one. Okay. Is that all we have?
She was on the third floor. I do not know if there's any mistakes.
Okay. Okay. All right. So basically, you guys, it needs to be given to the coders right away so they can start coding. So you give them stuff that are extremely rough, in rough format, but you give them updates as fast as you get it all the time. Okay, that has a couple advantages to work this way in iteration like that. The advantage is that the game can get going, basically, for real. So you can start coding and testing the game right away. Okay, and for you, that gives you the opportunity to test your art right away, and having your art works perfectly all the time. Okay, there's nothing worse than doing a bunch of pieces of arts for a video game and finalize them, and at the end, you put them in the game, they don't work. It has to be redone. Okay, and that's a pain. Okay, artists get very, I mean, I know I'm like that, and most of my students are like that too. We get very into our stuff emotionally. Redoing the same thing twice is not a good idea. All right, you don't have as much emotion into it, so artistically, it's not as refined, I think. All right, I know that's the way I work. Okay, I like it better the first time, and then I put it on the side and I come back. But if you do it every day, you get fast iteration, and then the game can keep working. All right, you guys, that's the way it works for the pipeline. Now, for the art pipeline itself, so now inside that game art group, you know, the pipeline is fairly simple. Okay, it always starts with concept arts. Okay, that's the main thing. Concept arts is always the thing you're gonna have to do 2D stuff. All right, so for us, we're gonna be fairly easy on it for that one because it's more of a fine art stuff. We'll just look at what we do, and we can use pictures to help ourselves understand the principles. Okay, but it's always with concept arts. Okay, then as soon as you get the concept art, you basically model it. And that's the same, that could be 2D or 3D, but we're going to talk 3D mainly of us, okay? You're going to modelize your object. You're going to create your object in 3D, okay? Then after that, you are going to texture your object. All right? After you textured your object, and actually the texture can be on its side, actually. We can go directly right here and go for rigging. Basically giving puppeteering systems to your objects. All right, if it's a character, it's a full skeleton. If it's a weapon, that could be just 1 or 2 bones actually that you can click on and off. All right, you guys, you're gonna give possibilities to animate your object. Okay, so we can go to the next step after that and animate the object. All right, and the last step when you're done is the export. Jeff, UDK FBX?
No, it does support FBX, but I don't think it supports animations from FBX.
So it's got to go through ActorX. Does all the keys have to be backed into the mesh, the bones? Every key needs to be backed?
Yeah, it's all exported to ActorX. So
okay. So yeah, ActorX does all the baking, huh? Yeah. Okay. So the export, you use special software most of the time to actually export it to that engine. The software we're talking about, ActorX right there, will not work for another engine that UDK. All right, you guys, it's extremely specific to what it does. If you can do game art, you can pretty much do any digital art on the planet after that. I'm not kidding you. It's the hack, basically. It's the hardest digital art you can get in reality, due to its specification that are extremely constraining to yourself, okay, to your art, basically. Okay? So, that's our pipeline. So today we are going to use 3D Max, okay? So today we're going to get right here, basically. Right there, okay? We're going to get ready to do the modeling for tomorrow, okay, you guys? Tomorrow we'll do modeling all day, okay? Then we'll do texturing of all the objects we did, all right? And then at the end of the class, right here on Friday of the week, we'll do animate, and we'll export them with Jeff, all right? So that should be fun. Let me just stop my first recording.